Who is Babylon, the great prostitute? Dear friend, I recommend, for a better understanding of this study, to participate in its predecessor, Jerusalem the City of God and Babylon the City of Men. Available on the same channel and in the description. Well, it is well known throughout the history of humanity that the Babylonian Empire was considered one of the greatest intellectual, cultural and religious centers of the ancient world. Settled in what is now modern-day Iraq, Babylon was known for its laws, religion, and architectural wonders. However, the scriptures identify Babylon from another perspective. She is considered by the Holy Bible as a symbol of evil, pagan worship and man's arrogance, that is, the opposite of everything that the God of Israel proposed to his people. In the Old Testament, every time Babylon is mentioned, it literally refers to the city. In the New Testament, specifically in the book of Revelations, Babylon is no longer a reference to the city founded between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, even because in this period it was already under ruins. This Babylon described in the New Testament is clearly another city. This is the objective of this study, to understand who Babylon is, the great harlot of Revelation. Firstly, it is worth mentioning that she is portrayed as the great prostitute and the mother of prostitutes and abominations of the earth. Prostitution is often used in the Bible to describe idolatry and spiritual adultery and abominations, the practices of this idolatry that before our God is abominable. Babylonian prostitution describes the most blasphemous and abominable form of idolatry and false religion in world history, involving sexual depravity, pride and arrogance. For her there are no limits. It is important to highlight that Christians in the first century knew how to interpret and understood the book of Revelation very well, because they lived, in a certain aspect, a reality of the Great Tribulation described in the book of Revelations. Persecution, betrayal, all rights violated, violence, death, complete destruction of Jerusalem with all its resources, existence of a city with all political, cultural and religious power and influence prevailing in the world. A world sovereign who personified evil by making use of this entire ungodly system. The imminence of Christ's return was very excited in their hearts. Therefore, we must take all these aspects into consideration if we want to understand the prophecies of this book. For early Christians it was not difficult to identify Babylon as Rome, the city on 7 hills, the seat of the ancient Roman Empire. And one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and spoke to me, saying to me, "Come, I will show you the condemnation of the great prostitute who sits on many waters." Revelation chapter 17 verse 1. What are these waters? The book itself responds, "And he said unto me, The waters which thou say west, where the harlot sitteth, are peoples, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues." Revelation chapter 17 verse 15 verse 18 of the same chapter leaves no doubt to Christians at the time. "And the woman whom you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth." Since the book was called Revelation, we do not believe that this word should cause confusion among the saints. The city described for the time was Rome. Another passage that corroborates this teaching is the one written by Peter at the end of his letter to the churches. Note, "She who is in Babylon, who was also chosen, sends greetings to you, and so does Mark, my son." 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 13 and 14. Now, we know that Peter was not literally in the city of Babylon, but rather in Rome. He used the word Babylon symbolically to refer to the New World culture at war with God's servants. We analyze verses 9 and 10 of Revelation chapter 17. Here is the meaning, which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, on which the woman sits. And there are also 7 kings. 5 have already fallen, and 1 exists. Another is not yet coming. And when it comes, it should last a little while. The great prostitute sits on the beast, and this also is 7 kings, of whom 5 have fallen, one is and another is to come. Note that this woman, the great harlot, endures in time. She was seated before the current king, over the current and over the next. I understand that these kings may very well be kingdoms that arose on earth and ruled it by contaminating it with their violence and false religions. The first kingdom was Egypt, followed by Assyria, which was dominated by the Babylonians. These were conquered by the Medes-Persians as Daniel prophesied. After the Medo-Persians, the Greeks rose to power to be succeeded by the Romans, who dominated during the birth and growth of the Church. The first 5 according to the prophecy have already fallen. The 6th, Rome, still existed while the book was being written, and the 7th and last one will come, which is the kingdom of the Antichrist. It will last only 7 years according to the biblical prophecies. What is certain is that this great harlot is sitting on these kings, lasting through time. This clearly leads us to conclude that she is a spirit. A religious system that arose there in the plain of Shinar during the construction of the Tower of Babel and lasts until the days of today. In the Great Tribulation he will gain strength and power never seen before. I emphasize that the great prostitute will not appear during the period of the Great Tribulation. She has been acting as she said since ancient times, including today. If we look carefully at the religions that are present in the world today, we will have no doubt about this. Idolatry, violence, mysticism, politics, deceit, mammon worship, earthly power, sensuality, among many others, are the hallmarks of each of them. Just as prostitutes often adorn themselves with elegant clothes, makeup, perfume and jewelry to attract clients, false religions, especially the Great Babylon, become attractive to their followers by promising false power, pleasures and riches to those who associate with her. Therefore Babylon, the great whore, is the human and evil religious system that was born in ancient Babel, is among us and will gain strength and power as its fall approaches. If we want to see it, we just need to ask God for wisdom. Seeing it, we fulfill the commandment of the Most High. And I heard another voice from heaven, saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Revelation chapter 18 verse 4.